My friends, sellers, I know what you must be feeling right now. You listed your home this week and you're seeing a few less showings than what you're anticipating. Buyers, you're sitting on the fence. This is what we're going to be talking about in our weekly recap of what's going on in the Toronto Real Estate Board. There's some interesting things. We're going to look at the McGowan Report for last week, the number of sales and what's going on, the average price, what things have been selling for. Then we're going to look at the number of showings in I think 3 different cities here in the York region area, and it's pretty interesting of what's happened since the big rate announcement of last week from the Bank of Canada. So that's what we're going to look at right after this. Yes, my friends, the last couple of days I've been getting texts, phone calls, emails, not only from buyers and sellers, but of course my colleagues, other realtors that are looking for some information, some data, what's going on in the market, because we have seen a lot less showings. In fact, in some cases, 60% less showings than what we were seeing the previous week or a few weeks. So that's a big sign of what's happening in the market. Now, is it just a little blip? Is it road bump? Is it just, a little hurdle that we got to get around as buyers? And of course, this all is in line with the Bank of Canada and their announcement last week of raising interest rates. We've talked and we've done many videos on that with Dion Begg and others. So you can go watch that, our mortgage broker. However, reach out to me. I'm happy to share some insight with you of what many of our realtors are saying. And of course, what I'm seeing, not only here in Toronto, but right across the country where I do market reports as well, Vancouver, Calgary, and so on. And it's interesting what's happening from the buyer's mentality. Now, if you're a seller, this is good information, as well as we need to digest the information and act accordingly. So let's go dig into the numbers. We'll see what's going on, and then I'm going to share with you my live stats from Broker Bay. Broker Bay is the system that we use here in the Toronto area on Toronto Real Estate Board to book showings. And the neat thing with Broker Bay is I can go view the number of showings that has happened over the last few weeks, several weeks, even a year, and figure out what's happening there and kind of, peel that onion in a way. So we're going to look at that. I can't pull specific showing details on properties, but we can look at it across the board, and we can do that by the city or region or even little local area. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to look at the McGowan Report, which you can always download in the show notes. Use it, benefit from it, educate yourself. If you're a buyer or seller, this is really, really important to know. If you're another realtor out there, use it to educate your buyers and sellers, your clients. And if you need something more specific than the Toronto Real Estate Board, because that's a big area, if you need something specific like the east end of Markham or the north end of Richmond Hill, shoot me a text or get a hold of me. I'm happy to pull the same report for you in that area. Okay, here we go. So the gray is this week or this year's numbers, and the dark black here, the black will be in reference to last year. And this is the quick overview. We're going to get into all of this. So total number of listings versus last year. Well, we're at about the same, call that the same. Of course, the average price. And then we're going to look at the number of sales. Well, we are ahead of last year, which is interesting, right? Versus this same time period last year. So you can see this is from the June 4th to the 10th, and we are ahead of last year. But this week, we've just kind of taken a little pause, a little moment, a little breath, maybe a deep breath. We're not sure. And we're going to look at that. Pricing is relatively the same. And the average list to sell ratio, well, that's the seller and the listing agent selling strategy. So we'll look at that. Okay. Let's scroll down, and we're going to look at the total listings. Well, you can see it's relatively the same. Most people, for whatever reason, chose last week to list on Thursday, which is interesting because the rate announcement, I believe, was Wednesday Yeah, it was Wednesday, and many people chose to wait until then and then list on Thursday. And that might have a lot to do with those properties perhaps not getting the number of showings that they were anticipating. So that's interesting. I hadn't noticed that prior to reading this report. And you'll see these are the number of listings that we've had since February. And of course, we've been trending up for the most part. I still suspect this will probably just trend probably balanced out right here. These is again the number of new listings of all property types, all residential property types in all of Toronto real estate boards. So I think we'll probably hover around that 4,500 mark over the next couple of weeks as people tend to get that listing up before the summer break when kids are off. Average list price, you can see, is relatively the same as where it was last year. And you can see since the beginning of February, of course, we've been up and down a little bit. And I suspect as this market and as this week rolls out, as June kind of comes to an end, we're just going to see that kind of hover here, probably that 127 numbers where it might dip to before the end of June, but we're just going to see that come down a little bit. And that's going to be based on a few things because sellers aren't getting the number of showings that they are used to getting, or should I say, are expected to get. So listing agents might come with a strategy instead of listing it at $1 million, we'll say, and perhaps that's fair market value. They might come in at $899 or so forth. So that's where that listing. This is the listing, the average list price, not the sale price. So we're going to see the average list price come down just to get that. Momentum into the market perhaps and stand out from the crowd. That would be my guess is what we're going to see. Total inventory cost, that's just the total number of all the inventory, total number, all the listings, add it all up. I'm going to skip through that page. Number of sales. This is the one that we need to key in on as well. So most properties do negotiate Monday, Tuesday. We saw that. We've seen that's kind of been the trend. Typically, that's always been the trend. And we are seeing the number of sales just drop from that previous June, from the first week of June into that our second week of June to 1,865. And I think when we do this report for this week, when we do it next week, when you tune in, I don't know if we go below 1,800, we might be in the 17s, but don't be surprised if that's 1,700 and something. I wouldn't be surprised there if we do see that because of what's been happening. And I'm curious to see if we reach that. I mean, it's only 65 properties down, 66 properties down to get into that 1,799 number, but I think we're going to end up there somewhere about that 1,780 mark, perhaps. Average sales, average price. Okay, so obviously this is a big one. And throughout the week, you're getting that price. You're getting 11678. If you're negotiating on the Sunday, if you're a seller, good for you because that's when you got the most money. So negotiate on the Sunday if you can, if you're the seller. And you can see that number. We were at 1.2. We've come down a little bit. Remember, this is all property types. That includes condos all the way up to the big 4, 5, 6 bedroom homes, if you can imagine. So take that with a grain of salt. Again, if you need something specific, let's pull that specific. But I think we're going to hover around here. We might come back down. You can see here back in late April, we were at 115. I wouldn't be surprised if we dip into that again, maybe into that 113. But if we do that, you can see that would be a bit of a turn. So I don't know if we'll see quite that steep, but time will tell. We only need, next week will tell us. I don't know if we're going to see quite that dip. I think we're going to see a lot less properties sell this week. So that'll be an interesting thing what we see when we pull this report for next week. Average list to sale ratio, it should be about the same just based on that sales strategy. I think next week that'll probably increase because let's think about it. So again, if you list your home for $1 million, you're expecting $1 million, $1.5 million here in a sense. And I think what we're going to see this week and into next week is listing agents take their, call it $1 million fair market value listing and price that at $899, something along those lines, just to be different, to try a different sales strategy. So that average list to sell strategy I see this increasing. for next week. So watch out for that. Just watch it. That's just all based on the sales strategy of what people decide to do. Average days on market. Well, we're sitting here at 17 days on market. We're going to see this increase next week. I think we'll see that at 18, and we'll see what that looks like for the summer months. Usually in the summer months, it tails tails up. It slows down a little bit. So we're entering that time frame now, but I do see that entering a little bit higher for next week. It does take a few weeks to kind of move multiple days. So we'll see where that comes in, right? Total sales volume. Well, of course, that's all the number of sales in the Toronto Real Estate Board, and add everything up, and that's what you're going to get. We'll still remain over that $2 billion mark. I believe we will. I believe that's what we're going to see. Oh, there we go. Let's just stretch that back out. I still think we're going to see that. So it'll be interesting what we see. Now, I did mention that we were seeing or not seeing showings. And in fact, I was coaching, mentoring an agent just the other day on what to say and how to navigate this process with their seller. And we got to look at what's going on in the rest of the market. So if you're an agent out there, you can certainly use Broker Bay to see what's happening. Broker Bay is our booking system. And also call the other agents. If you've got other agents within your brokers that have listings and similar listings, ask them, see what's going on. Call other agents from other brokerages as well. It's a great way to network. People like to connect. And so let's look at the number of showings. And in fact, this is something that I didn't see happening, and we're seeing properties go on the market and not get showings like they were used to. So this is, you got to peel the onion away in a sense, where you go put your home on the market, and the experience from that listing agent. Well, when we listed this home or a similar home last week or the previous week, we had showings right away, 10, 15 showings right away. And then maybe within a 7-day period, you had 30, 40, 50 showings. Well, I got to tell you right now, you list a home today, you're lucky to get a showing a day. That is a big, big pivot, what we've been used to. Granted, in the grand scheme of things, on the average days on market over the last several years, well, of course, that moves to about 35, 40 days, but we're not used to that right now, and the sellers aren't used to that right now. So let me share my screen one more time. And what we're looking at here is a snapshot, a real-time snapshot into Broker Bay, into the city of Markham, across all property types, all residential property types, so including condos. And what I'm looking at here, as I move my mouse, I'm looking at the number of showings. So we've had 9,500 showings, which is a lot. Let me just refresh this. In fact, we're going to look at the daily. So just give it a second here to refresh, and we're going to see kind of that daily marker of what's happening over for this month. Now, of course, it tails off because few people book a week out in showings, and we know that. So it just kind of tails off. But if I click on the month over month, you can see the difference here. So we're down 55% of showings in the city of Markham for this month of June. The blue is this month, the green is last month. And in fact, if I look at yesterday, yesterday was 368 showings across. You can see here 398 total listings. And where are we? 368 showings versus 572 showings the month before. So that's a big change. So 368, that's not quite one showing per listing, is it? Now 572 certainly would have been. So there's a difference there. And if I look at tomorrow, what's booked for tomorrow, well, you can see it's down to 135 listings. Now, of course, we still have the rest of today to book, and we're leading into Saturday, where most people will go look at homes. So it'll be interesting to see how that picks up into this evening and for tomorrow for showings. But we're only at this moment sitting at 135 showings for 389 listings. So there's a lot of listings that are not going to get shown tomorrow as it stands right now. So if you're a buyer out there, Maybe this is your week. Maybe this is your opportunity. Let's look at the next city here. What's the next one? The next one is Stouffville. So I'm going to flip this over to daily. Again, we're going to look at showings. And let's do the month over month again. So in Stouffville, there's only 65 listings, residential listings. Again, blue is this month and the green is last month. If I look at yesterday across all property types, there were 35 showings, and the month before 57. So not, we're looking at, we'll call it double just for the sake of calling it double, a little shy of double there of what we've been missing out on. Although, and then if I look into the weekend here, June, see, there's nothing, this is interesting. There's nothing booked past June 18th as it stands right now in Stouffville. There's only 5 showings booked on the Sunday. Tomorrow we see 10 showings. So there's only 10 showings for the town of Stouffville booked for tomorrow. So that's a big difference of what people's and sellers' expectations perhaps are going to be. The next one that we've got here as an example is, I believe, Newmarket. So let's let the system update and we'll look at the same information there. And let's flip this again over to daily. I like looking at the daily. Again, this is just for the month June 1st till today. And of what is currently listed real time. So I'm shooting this at 2:48 on Friday the 16th. And if we include last month, which is green, the same time last month on the 17th, we had 31 showings today versus 165 the previous month. We currently have 137 listings in the town of Newmarket. So again, that's a big portion of properties not getting shown today and into, I guess the 17th, I apologize. The 17th is of course Saturday. So there's still an opportunity for that to increase. But if I look at, yesterday or today, 98 versus 135, still under the number of listings that we have. So you're going to have some listings that are going to be sitting longer. That's why I'm talking about the days on market is going to increase week over week. Are we going to see that listing price get adjusted? I definitely feel that we are going to see listing prices get adjusted probably on Monday or Tuesday. If you might be a listing agent today, you might be seeing the stats and looking at this for the first time. And you're going to have a phone call and a consultation with your seller. And perhaps you want to move before the weekend. And in fact, you still have today, if you're watching, to adjust your pricing, to gain some traction, to do something different than what your competition is doing. So if you're a seller out there, be very mindful of how many showings are happening. You might be feeling you just listed perhaps this week and you've had only a handful of showings, Is it me? What have I done? Should we have painted the trim? Should we have changed the door? Should we have done this? Should we have staged more? No, it's not just you. It's across the board. So if it's across the board, how are you going to stand out from the crowd? That would be the way that I would look at it. Have a good long conversation with your listing agent to talk about that. If you're getting ready to sell, reach out to me. We can have a good long conversation about the pros and cons when the market does kind of turn like this or shift like this. And again, next week, this might just be ramp up again. So time will tell, but it's important to continue to look at your competition, to continue to look at the numbers like this of what's going on. Number of showings is obviously a huge indicator of what you can expect on offers. And of course, a lot of the properties that got listed this week, that got listed this week are holding for an offer date. And if I'm a listing agent out there right now, my strategy would be to remove that offer date as quick as possible, perhaps change your pricing strategy, do something different, let everyone know that you are open for offers at any time. I don't know if I'd be tempting fate right now, at least in these 3 areas, with an offer date. I want to be doing something different. And the way to do something different is to do something first, right? And that's a good way to do it. So there you have it, my friends. Do reach out to me. Lots of people have over the last month or so, and I've been asking and answering many questions. And if you're a realtor out there, feel free to reach out to me too. enjoy talking with other realtors, learning from them as well. And if you're a buyer or seller, well, you know the drill. Call me anywhere. Just doesn't have to be in my area where I'm trading. It can certainly direct you to the right agent to get you supported in your real estate needs. So there you have it, my friends. That's the McGowan Report. Download it below, and we'll see everybody on the next video. Goodbye for now.